Hey guys, welcome back to J&M Sports Talk. I'm Mark and this is Jonathan, and we are having our preseason edition of our shows. We're previewing the Big Ten today, so let's get started. How about some players to watch preseason?
Well, the obvious one's got to be Jonathan Taylor, sophomore running back for Wisconsin. He just was short of 2,000 yards as a freshman. He was sitting at 1977 yards last year. So, see him, maybe he can get 2,000 yards this year. It'll be fun to watch. Regardless, he's a fun player.
Yeah, you love those Wisconsin running backs.
It's a disease, I guess. I don't know. But yeah.
I like Trace McSorley, Penn State quarterback. I think it's going to be his show. There's going to be more of a focus on him. He's an athletic guy, has a good arm, but not having Saquon Barkley, I think, will potentially hurt him. He does have some playmakers around him stepping in, but just not to the level of Barkley going to the NFL. So I'm interested to see how he comes out. I think he'll have a good season.
Yep. Another guy to look out for is for Michigan, the quarterback, new quarterback transfer, Shea Patterson, formerly of Ole Miss. Sure, people found out how he got there with everything going on in Ole Miss, but he's a Michigan Wolverine now, and he can ball. So it'll be fun to watch him this year in the new system. The pro style will be a little different, but I think it'll be fun. It'll do fine, I think, in it.
Yeah, sticking with the quarterback theme, Dwayne Haskins, his first year, he's the projected starter. He hasn't won the job, but most people think he will. Yeah. We got to see him a little bit last year. Times JT Barrett had to step out. So he's an athletic guy. He's got a good arm. I think he'll do well. The cupboard is stacked at Ohio State. I mean, there's tons of guys around him to make him look good, but I think he'll have a good season.
Yeah, and he already beat out Joe Burrow enough that he's starting at LSU, looks like. So he beat a guy out to the point where he transferred. So yeah, I think it's a good look that he's going to be starting for him.
All right, Jonathan, what about some games to watch?
Well, we start off week one. We talked about in our preview for ACC, just loaded with games in week one, and we get to the Big Ten, it's the same thing. We're opening up with Michigan and Notre Dame. That's a big rivalry in the past that we're going to enjoy week one, so right out the gate. What about some other games for you?
Yeah, week three, huge non-conference matchup, Ohio State and TCU. Ohio State, the last few years, playing Oklahoma. That's been a tough matchup. They ended up splitting that. This game is at TCU.
Yeah.
We both think that TCU will probably win that game, but it should be a good matchup nonetheless. And then late season matchup, you like
Notre Dame again, and it seems like all we're talking about is Notre Dame. I think we've gone over Notre Dame 1,000 times already this week preparing for our show, but they're going to Northwestern, and I have Northwestern doing really well this year, and have them actually beating Notre Dame in that one. That's gonna be a good late season matchup that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, for sure. And we could have gone on and on about conference games.
For sure.
The thing about the Big Ten Conference, especially in recent years, is it's very top-heavy. So you've got all these teams that are splitting hairs. It might be a win, might be a loss. And so, I mean, especially when it gets late in the season, some of those rivalry games, and even in the middle of the season, those are all games we're looking forward to watching. It will definitely dictate the Big Ten race, but those are just some non-conference games to watch out for.
Yes, we're talking about those games being so much fun. What are some of those teams involved in those big matchups we're looking forward to? Those talking about those guys. I'm sure Michigan's in there, Ohio State, Wisconsin. Let's talk about some of those teams in particular.
Yeah, so especially the last few years, I think it's just going to continue on the same this year. But in the East, you have Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State, and Penn State, all in the same division of the same conference. That's a gauntlet. Those teams got to play each other. Another thing is the Big Ten they play 9 conference games, so they at least have one more game there that they're having to play a decent opponent. So as it pertains to the East, those teams playing each other, I think those are good matchups. Right. But you even really like some of the West teams this year in the Big Ten.
There's a couple of them. Of course, I have Wisconsin winning it pretty easily, But two teams that I would look out for that could be really good this year is Iowa and Northwestern. Northwestern, we watched last year. It seemed like every week they were in some overtime game. They would push it into overtime and squeak out that win or have a really good game. So I really like them to have another strong year at 9-3. Also at 9-3, I have Iowa. I think last year they're trying to figure things out. That defense is going to be really strong again, and they're going to be able to score some points with some of the teams they have to play in the rest of that division. I really like Iowa to be there with them at the end, right there, just behind Wisconsin.
Yeah, that's a good prediction. Iowa is always a tough team to play.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So Iowa, Northwestern, Minnesota. Minnesota's a decent team that's on the rise. Scott Frost going to Nebraska, where he went to school, and trying to pick that program back up. That's a team to look out this season. But Wisconsin is Wisconsin. Yeah. And it's nice to see that some of these teams might be challenging them or competing with them a little bit more than previous years. But how do you think this will shake out? Who do you have winning each side?
Well, Wisconsin I have easily getting in the championship game. But it comes to the other side. I actually have Ohio State just edging out Michigan. I have them both finishing 10-2, but I have one of Ohio State's losses being that TCU game. So I actually have them getting in there just because of the conference record being a little better. But then that's just another splitting of hairs. I think they're both equally as talented, and I think Ohio State's just got a little more that you can kind of lean onto as well. We talked about the riches Haskins will have to work around them, but they're also bringing in maybe the best D-line in the country. You could argue them with Clemson and a few other teams, but they're right up there in the top, their defensive line unit. So I'm looking forward to, I have that matchup, Ohio State against Wisconsin.
Yeah, which is a rematch from last year's championship game. Just to recap for our viewers, Wisconsin was undefeated going into that game. They had a good shot. If they win that game, they're going to the playoff. Well, Ohio State comes in there and they beat them. And people thought Ohio State would go, but Alabama ended up getting the nod.
Yep.
Like you, I've got Wisconsin and Ohio State too. I think it's going to fare the same way. I've got to give the nod just because of the talent. I'm going to go with Ohio State too, reluctantly. But I think talent usually wins. So I've got them going and winning that. Now, I'm undecided. I think that the Big Ten might beat each other up. And so if they have multiple losses, the champion, which I predict that Ohio State will, I don't necessarily view a Big Ten representative going to the playoff. Like it depends how the other conferences shake out, really. And so you talk about Ohio State. I have them losing the TCU game, and that would really be the splitting hair game for the committee. So losing that game and losing another Big Ten game, I just don't think a Big Ten team will go to the playoff. But this is the preseason.
So it's a repeat of last year.
Of last year. But I will say this, if it's close, I think the committee will give them the benefit of the doubt because they got left out last year. I think they will give Ohio State the nod if it's close with the other conferences.
Which it will be. So
it probably
who knows? It'll be down to like 6 teams as usual, and 1, 2, 5, and 6 will get in, and everyone will be upset because that's how it works, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, one last thing you wanted to talk about, just in light of speaking of Ohio State and the Urban Meyer situation, do you want to comment on that?
Well, I think we're just going to stick to what we know for sure with that. I mean, I think I was joking with you earlier. I think they could have a clown right now making balloon animals for the kids in the stands as their head coach right now. And this team's so loaded with talent, they're still going to win ball games. So I think regardless of who the coach is, I think, of course, a lot of Buckeyes want Urban Meyer there, and that's a situation that's going to develop in the weeks to come for sure. But I think regardless, Ohio State should be excited for a good year of football regardless.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Well, that's what we have for the Big Ten. That's how we see it pre-season. We reserve the right to change our opinions as the season goes on, but that's how we see it happen.
Even week 1.
Even week 1, maybe.
Yeah. All right, later, guys.